So this is part 2 of 6 levels of prepping. We're going to wrap up this discussion. There's a lot of information, a lot of good nuggets that will help a new prepper, that will help somebody who's reassessing where they're at and where they're going with their preps. The goal here is to make sure that we have a balanced approach, that we're not developing in one area and totally neglecting another. So this is part 2, and enjoy. Okay, so the last one was an intermediate level. This next jump is also kind of a big jump, to go from 3 months to 1 year of sustainability. That's a long time to be without government services. That's a long time to be self-sufficient. So we're going to look at 5 key things that we need to look at to be self-sufficient for up to a year and to be at that experienced level of prepper. First one is food replenishment. We may have enough food supplies for a year, but at this level, we need to start thinking about how to replenish that food. We need to think about gardens. We need to think about fruit trees, berries, hunting, fishing. So we need to think about these things, and we need to think about those skills required, because gardening, as I'm finding out, I do not have a green thumb. Okay, what I'm finding out is that gardening is not as easy as putting seeds in the ground and watching food grow. I have been practicing gardening now for several years, probably my 4th or 5th year of regularly planting vegetables in the garden. This is the first year where I'm actually starting to get good results. It takes time. I've learned a lot. What not to do. It takes practice. It's a skill that needs to be acquired. Some people are natural. I'm not one of those. So food procurement is a big issue at this level of prepping. So at sustainability for up to 1 year, number 1, we need to look at food replenishment. The second item, another item on security, is we need to start really looking at group security. So at the intermediate level, we looked at working with our neighbors for an event that might be 2 to 3 months. At this level, we're talking something a little longer term. We may want to plan, or we should be planning, to have like-minded people to support us and have some mutual aid, mutual support in a basically a sustainability or a prepping group. So we want to start looking at a group dynamic for the experienced level of prepper who can survive up to 1 year. The next thing on the sanitation, we need to start thinking long-term sanitation. At this level, we need to have a plan and the capability to have a permanent solution for sanitation needs. At 3 months, you can have a number of options for temporary solutions, short-term. At this level, we need to have a permanent plan to put in place. Doesn't mean that we have to have it in place, but we have to have that capability. We have to have the knowledge. We have to have the supplies in place, whether it's outhouses or other type of similar ways to deal with the waste. If we're having a situation where we're having to be self-sufficient for up to a year, finances will be an issue. So number 4 is non-currency finances. Have a plan to barter. So what does that mean? There are some people that will either acquire supplies or acquire skills specifically with the intent to be able to sell those in this type of grid down situation. Another plan is whatever you're doing, whatever you're good at, let's say you're gardening, to grow extra. If you're farming and you've got livestock, to grow extra so that you could sell those. But I'm pretty convinced that regardless of what our efforts are like, unless we have made this a long-term lifestyle, we're going to find out that we have some shortages. Some things don't work quite the way we do if we're in a grid down situation for up to a year, and we're going to need to trade, or whether it's it could be food, it could be livestock. You've got extra chickens, they've got extra hogs. So we need to be able to come up with a plan, barter, or somehow exchange with other people to help close those gaps. They're going to have gaps, we're going to have gaps. Whether we miscalculated how much ammo we need, or maybe we overcalculated and we've got an abundance of ammo. There may be an opportunity there to help someone else out, to have some type of non-currency finance or barter in place. The last thing. So at the intermediate level, we looked at the babies. They grow fast. So 5 key things for the experienced prepper who can sustain themselves for up to a year. 1, food replenishment. 2, group security. 3, long-term sanitation. 4, non-currency finances. And 5, clothing and shoe replacement for the children. All right, the next level for prepping is the expert level. This is the prepper who can sustain themselves for up to 3 years. 5 things that we're going to look at for this prepper that will identify that this prepper is an expert prepper. First, food production. This person has probably got some type of homesteading going on. They have already got food in the ground. They know their harvest cycle. They can go for multiple years with food, with water. They've already got those systems in place. Those systems are functioning. Fruit trees are already planted. I heard this saying recently, when's the best time to plant a fruit tree? 10 years ago. Second best time, today. Reason being is these things take time. The expert prepper has already invested their time and their efforts, and they've got those systems in place where they can produce the food. Now, in a grid down or without rule of law situation or a collapse situation, they may have to expand those, but they've got them in place and they've got those capabilities. Along the same lines, off-grid power. So this person who's the expert prepper, again, has got these systems in place, whether it's solar, wind, gasification, hydroelectric. They've got these systems in place where they can run on their own without the utility companies. So that's the second, is off-grid power. The third, on the security, this is networking. So we're going to move beyond our own group, and networking is getting to know those other people in the area or outside the area that could provide some type of mutual aid, mutual support. Not necessarily part of our own group, but they could be a neighboring group that would be able to provide some type of aid or support, or that we could also provide aid or support to. Okay, so we're going to expand that on the security, and what we're doing is we're moving that security further and further away from us at the center, and this mutual aid group, this networking group, may be able to provide us things such as intelligence as far as threats that might be coming from their way towards ours, and we would be able to do the same for them. So the networking between groups is important at the expert level of prepper. Number 4, child education. We're going to need to have a plan for those children to make sure that they've got those things that they need as they continue to grow. If we have, without rule of law, we've got a grid down situation, the children are not going to stop growing. They're still going to have their needs. So those of us that are the responsible adults at this level, at the experienced level, we're going to continue to prepare for them. We're going to prepare for those needs. We're talking multiple years without normal society functioning. That includes the schools. So there has to be a plan to continue the education of children. They might like it as one long vacation, but in reality, kids need their education, and we need to have a plan on how to continue that education. If you're homeschooling, that's fantastic because you can continue that. I homeschooled both of my kids, K through 12. It went very well. In a grid down situation, I would have been able to just continue that education process. So having a plan to continue the education of children is a key part for an expert prepper. And number 5 is just to continue to expand on capabilities and knowledge and skills on all these other previous areas that we talked about. Number 6, I call this the sustainable level of prepper. There is no end date for this person, very similar to the expert level, but pretty much at this level, this is just how the person lives. They are self-sufficient. They're self-sufficient on food. They've got the security plan. They've got the plan for how to address the children's needs over a long period of time. I didn't have 5. So the key thing here is that this person is either sustainable completely or has the capability to make themselves sustainable. The key thing here is that this level, the sustainable level, is able to transition from current living to sustainable fairly easy. So I know that's not 5, but at this level, indefinitely. So we got the 6 levels. We got your basic level, which is up to 3 days. We have your novice level of prepper, which is a person who can sustain up to 3 weeks. We have the intermediate level of prepper, who can sustain up to 3 months. We have the experienced prepper, who can sustain themselves for up to a year. At level 5, we've got the expert, who can sustain for up to 3 years. And we have the sustaining prepper, which is level 6, that can go on indefinitely. Okay, so 6 levels of prepping. I hope you got a lot out of this. We are going to spend a little bit of time in an upcoming video looking at the beginning steps, and we're going to get into details about what works, what doesn't work. We got a couple of surprises for you that you may not hear elsewhere that would help you in those beginning situations. So first of all, what do we got next week? Several of us are heading into the forest of northern Mississippi. We're going to test our gear, we're going to test our skills, and we're going to be out there for several days camping, having a good old time, fishing, hiking, doing some day hikes out there, and generally fighting with mosquitoes if they're out, and hopefully it doesn't rain. So that's what we got coming up next week. We're going to be working on some videos up there, and so we'll have those for you shortly when we return. One of those videos that we're going to be working on is a 2020 after action report. A lot of things happened from 2020. Some of those side effects are still in play, but there's a lot of lessons that we can learn. There's a lot of things that we did well here at Sustainable Prepper that we want to share, and there's a lot of things that we have learned that we can do better. So we're going to do an after action report on 2020, and we'll have that for you probably 2 weeks. We're going to come back. We're going to come back next weekend from the forest and give us a couple of days to do some editing, but we'll be working on that next week. I did mention we're going to be working on a video on building our initial preps. We're going to get into details. We're going to get into specifics. So if this is where you're at, where you're just beginning to prepare for these events, if you're just beginning to prepare your life, and you want to get to that 3-day, 3-week level, stick with us. We're going to have some specific information, specific guidance coming up. We're going to take a look at upcoming risks in 2021 and beyond. Things that here at Strategic Prepper that we're looking at longer term. We're going to talk about what we see, and basically we're going to talk about what actions we think that we can take to help insulate us from those things that we see. And the last thing that we've got on the schedule that's coming up is we've got a short little series on what the Bible teaches about the end times. There's been a lot of movies, a lot of discussion about what the Bible says on end times. We're going to have our take on it with the focus from the prepper. What do we see? What does the Bible teach us about the end times? What does it teach us about the risks, the threats, and what does it teach us about how we can try to protect ourselves? So that's going to be a couple video series that is also coming up in the near future. So, okay, greetings and salutations. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give me a thumbs up, and remember to subscribe, and please share this video And please share this video with others. All right, thanks, and hope to see you guys next week.